I love Pikmin. It's a very simple game, yet it's just so fun. Since Pikmin 4 was just announced, I thought it'd be fun to revisit the rest of the series, Pikmin 1, 2, and 3. Those are the only other games in the series. There is not a single other game I'm leaving out. Anyway, I really wanted to play and talk about Pikmin, so without any further ado, let's dive straight in. Just like most Nintendo games, Pikmin is a very simple series with one main mechanic, throwing Pikmin. And just like those other games, Nintendo doesn't proceed until the main mechanic is fun. Running around and throwing Pikmin at everything is just fun. However, it wouldn't be much fun if you didn't have a reason to command all the Pikmin. So, what's the goal of the game? Well, it all starts when Captain Olimar is flying through space in his rocket ship when he all of a sudden gets struck by an easily avoidable asteroid. Come on, Olimar. Anyway, he crash lands on Earth. Well, it doesn't call it Earth, but it's pretty obviously Earth. On Earth, Olimar is super tiny, canonically smaller than an inch. He's 3/4 of an inch to be exact. Since he's so small, the enemies you face are literally just bugs, and it's adorable. Alright, crash landing. So what do you do about that? Well, Olimar's ship is damaged, and he needs to find a way to get his ship parts and bring him back to his ship. But how, you may ask? Well, you probably won't, because you probably already know the answer, but whatever. Pikmin. Olimar stumbles upon a group of small animals he calls Pikmin. In this game, there's three main, only types of Pikmin. There's red, your basic Pikmin, and the one that you start with. He does extra damage and is immune to fire. Next is yellow. He is the most bizarre of the group. It's the only one who can pick up bomb rocks for some reason. It can also be thrown higher, again, for some reason. Yellow Pikmin really feel like the leftover ideas. Like they didn't know what to do with them, so they just gave them a bunch of random abilities to make them more useful. And finally, there's the blue Pikmin, which is immune to water, and that's it. Okay, it can't do a lot, but there is a lot of water, making blue Pikmin one of the most useful since they can go anywhere. These three Pikmin make up your entire means of getting your ship repaired. Use red to fight, blue to explore, red, yellow whenever the game feels like making you use them. I usually carried around an equal amount of them because why not? I don't know, I was just too lazy to think of a better arrangement. The only time I didn't was near the end since I unlocked blue Pikmin, so I can go back to old areas with a party full of them and just explore the areas that I couldn't before. But it doesn't really matter which Pikmin you have, since all of them can do one crucial thing. Carry stuff. If you find a ship part, your Pikmin can pick it up and carry it back. This is the best part of the game. Having your Pikmin move all your items back while you just keep on progressing is fun. And Nintendo knew this, so they made these rollout bridges where Pikmin can just unroll them, meaning you can send your Pikmin and then leave and come back when they're done, and you can just keep progressing. Like, just look at that. I'm getting work done, and I'm not moving a muscle. That's satisfying. I mean, Nintendo obviously doesn't seem to know how fractions work. Like, if there's half as many Pikmin than I need, show 1/2, 1/2. Why on earth would it say 2/1? Nintendo, this is basic math, come on. Anyway, ignoring the fractions, this ability to carry stuff is where the main gameplay loop is. Attack a big creature in your way so you can then carry your victims' bodies. Well, I don't really know a nicer way to put that, so... And your Pikmin will carry them to your ship along with other ship parts. Well, the Pikmin don't bring the animals to your ship, they bring them to the onion. The onions are the Pikmin's homes, and also where you get new Pikmin, causing you to have hundreds. However, the onion doesn't just give you Pikmin, it spits them out in seeds, and you have to pluck the seeds from the ground. This is so annoying. First off, you have to wait for the seed to hit the ground, then wait forever for it to finally sprout, and then it lets you pick them. But even then, you have to spam the A button repeatedly to pick them all up. So not only does it take forever, but it also gives you hand cramps. This is the closest I've come to hating Pikmin. This is terrible. But this is the only way to get new Pikmin, at least at first, so you'll have to deal with it. Oh yeah, almost forgot. Well, not really, it's in the script. But anyway, you can lose Pikmin too. There's three main types to lose one. The first way is while fighting an enemy, and it's usually your fault since you had a bad strategy. But some enemies do make it feel impossible to defeat them without losing some Pikmin. But I'm pretty sure you can do it, I'm not sure. The second way is having them die of natural causes, like drowning or being caught on fire. What? Those are natural. These deaths can be your fault, but the Pikmin aren't always great at following you. They follow you by making a circle of them, which can be super annoying if you're trying to get through a small space. Oh, and if hazards are next to the small gap, then they'll fall in. The future games will improve their AI, but here it's not great. As you play, as I've already said, you'll unlock new Pikmin and be able to explore new areas of these old levels. This means for the most part, you'll play every single level twice. Once to get through it regularly, and once after you get all the Pikmin to get all your ship parts. This sounds somewhat boring to have to replay old levels, but it's actually really fun. Trying to round up all the ship parts as fast as you can is really fun. The levels themselves are also okay. Level 1 is grassy, and so is level 2. I can understand the similarity. The first area is just the tutorial, so why waste an entire style on it? Anyways, level 3 is dark and appears to be in some kind of cave. And the fourth area is also just grassy, but this one has some tree stumps and a little bit more water, I guess. Yeah, the level variety is not great here. We can only wait and see if this is improved in the later games. However, no matter what they look like, they're still super fun to run through and try to get everything as fast as possible. And you have to be at least somewhat fast to get all your ship parts in time. You have 30 missing parts and only 30 days to get them all due to the toxic air on Earth, apparently. This means you want to get at least one a day, but you have no idea how hard the later ones are, so you want to be ahead of schedule, so you want to get as many as you can, so you rush. You have to try to multitask and do multiple things at at once, whether that's explore, fight, bring stuff back to your ship, or as I said earlier, roll out bridges. However, you can't do too much since the Pikmin not with you at the end of the day are left behind and die. This means the end of each day is a frantic run around the level trying to get any Pikmin that you left behind doing some other task. It's hectic, stressful, and fun. And it's super sad when you lose your Pikmin, especially since it's 100% your fault. Oh yeah, that was the third way they die. I just realized I hadn't mentioned that yet. And that's not a joke. I literally almost forgot to add it to the script. Anyway, the end of the game has one final level with one final challenge that requires all your Pikmin being used in different ways to get to the end of the path and fight a final boss. Emperor Bulblax. He's not the only boss, but he's the only one that feels like a boss. Like the other ones just usually appear in the open and you fight them. It just seems like a big enemy, not a boss. Some are interesting, like the beady Longlegs, which falls on you and does feel like a boss, but that's like the only one that does. The Emperor Bulblax is by far the most annoying since he does his jump attack that kills any Pikmin below him. That's a problem with Pikmin bosses, since at first you don't know their attacks and Pikmin die really quickly, especially by being crushed, so you will likely lose a lot of Pikmin here. However, you can just walk back to your ship and get more, and then go back. So the stakes are very low. You'll likely have a ton of extra Pikmin, and this is the last level. So you can literally just use all of them with no worry about the next day because there is no next day. So again, there's no stakes. But with that boss, the first game comes to an end. It shows a lot of potential, but could do with a lot of work. So how does the sequel improve on the original? Well, it's very different. Many say it's the best in the series, while others say it's the worst. Pikmin 2 is a very divisive entry, so let's play it. The story of Pikmin 2 takes place right after Pikmin 1. Olimar returns home and finds out that his company that he works for has gone to debt while he was away. However, his boss finds out that an item Olimar brought from Earth was worth a lot of money, so sends him back to collect more treasures so they won't go bankrupt. So instead of collecting 30 ship parts like in Pikmin 1, instead you have to collect 201 treasures. 201? Now that's a ton, so how many days does it give you? Infinite. You have infinite days to collect 201 treasures. That is a lot of treasures, but you get a lot of them per day due to, well, we'll get to that shortly. However, because you have infinite days, they feel way less important. Some days I would just quit midway through and waste a ton of the day just because I didn't want to play anymore. It really removed a lot of the urgency. However, the days are far from the only reason urgency is gone. A much more impactful reason is, yep, these again. The caves. The caves are somewhat randomly generated and there's a lot of them. Inside, time completely stops. This means you could spend hours in a cave getting tons of treasures and it won't affect the time in-game whatsoever. Because of that, even more urgency is lost. No need to rush to minimize the amount of days it takes to finish if you both have infinite days and spending a lot of the time where the day isn't progressing at all. The caves are a really weird concept and I don't like them very much. Other than the fact that they remove urgency, a much more annoying feature about the caves is the lack of growing Pikmin. Usually, if you get into the fight and lose Pikmin, you'll be able to bring the enemy you just beat to the onion and get more Pikmin. This means when you lose some, you'll usually just gain them right back. In the caves though, there's little to no way to get Pikmin. And these caves are filled to the brim with enemies and even bosses. This means you'll likely only ever be able to lose Pikmin, which is super annoying. My first time playing the game, I didn't beat it since I lost all of my Pikmin and had to grind to get more. Since that didn't sound fun, I just quit. Thankfully that didn't happen this time, possibly because I'm just better at the game, but I'm not sure. It is possible to get new Pikmin in the caves though, it's just really rare. You need to use these flowers and throw Pikmin in and get even more out. Flowers like this were in Pikmin 1, but they didn't give you more Pikmin, they just changed the color of Pikmin. These flowers are super useful when you find them after losing a ton of Pikmin, but they're very rare and aren't in most caves. So I do wish there were a few more, since there were a few times that I found a treasure but just couldn't get it since I didn't have enough Pikmin and had to go through the entire cave again. There's a reason I don't like these caves. I mean, at least they look nice, I guess. They could have all been basic caves, but there's a lot of variety. Like some are regular caves, some are snowy, some are weird floating metal, or the inside of a house, or literally just the surface. What? I do dislike the caves, but they aren't too bad. For one reason is because that's where you get this game's new Pikmin. The 3 Pikmin from Pikmin 1 return, but they add 3 more, and they're very different. Instead of fighting an onion for the new color, instead these Pikmin are found in caves. Oh, and remember the flowers that could change the color of your Pikmin? Yeah, that's the only way to get 2 of the new Pikmin. The 2 you get are also interesting additions. Because they don't have an onion, you can't grow more by defeating enemies, making these Pikmin some of the rarest you can get. It's hard to get a ton of extra ones like you can with the rest of them. They also have very useful abilities, or at least one does. The white Pikmin are poisonous, meaning they're both immune to poisonous hazards, but also if the enemy eats one, they'll take damage. They can also dig, which is Weird, but okay. This would be useful to let enemies eat them and do a lot of damage, but because they're so rare, I never did that. Or at least not till the end. Instead, I only use them to get rid of poisonous hazards time to time. That's it. The purple Pikmin, however, are the best Pikmin in the game. They have no immunities, but they're super strong. They not only do more damage, but also when you throw them, they do a ground pound, dealing even more damage. Also, when toting objects, they're as strong as 10 Pikmin, meaning they can carry a lot of things by themselves. So they're the best at battling it and carrying objects. And things that could have made them worse are just removed. Like they're slow at carrying stuff, meaning you might not want to use them to tote your stuff if you're in a hurry. However, most of the game is in caves with no time limit, so you're never in a hurry. Also, with other Pikmin, if red brings an enemy to the onion, it creates more red Pikmin. So using purple Pikmin might mean you don't get a lot of other colors, which you might need, right? Nope, since again, most of the game takes place in caves and you can't grow new Pikmin there. And even above ground, there's no purple onion, so purple Pikmin just make a random other color, so you'll never be out of the color that you need, so they're still the best. The most annoying thing about them is that one treasure you can get is a dumbbell, which needs 1000 Pikmin. Since you can only have 100 and purple Pikmin are as strong as 10 other Pikmin, that means the only way you can carry them is if you had 100 purple Pikmin. But again, you can only get them from caves, meaning you're just going to have to grind out a cave over and over until you have enough. It takes forever. At least you can get white Pikmin in the same cave, which is how I was able to start, well, sacrificing them, as I mentioned before. Anyways, the purple Pikmin are by far the best, and are completely overpowered. The only Pikmin I could argue rivals them in usability is the third new Pikmin, the Bulbman. In caves, sometimes you'll find a Bulborb. Oh, these are Bulborbs, by the way. They're the most common enemy, and I haven't mentioned them yet, since why would I? Anyways, you can find some in caves with a leaf on top, and they have children following them. So if you murder the parent, you're able to just abduct the children. This game is really dark. Like, what am I supposed to be, Batman? Anyway, this is the only other way to get Pikmin in the caves other than the flowers. And it's not even permanent. If you leave the cave, they're just left behind, meaning they don't even add to your overall Pikmin collection. So they're extremely limiting, meaning they're nowhere near as useful as purple Pikmin. But while you have them, they are pretty good. They fulfill the one bad thing about purple Pikmin, the lack of immunity. Bulbmen are immune to everything. Fire, water, electricity, poison, everything. They are really useful in the caves, but it's just sad that you can't carry them out. Other than the new Pikmin, the 3 returning ones remain mostly the same. The only new thing are electric hazards, which yellow Pikmin are now immune to. Unlike the rest of the hazards though, electricity is a one-hit kill. A lot of people claim this is really hard, but I rarely had an issue with it since I was just good at the game and didn't run into electricity, so it wasn't that big of a deal to me. Now that I've went over the Pikmin, I want to talk about the caves for a bit. More specifically, my favorite cave. This cave only lets you bring in blue Pikmin. Immediately that sounds very limiting, because it is, and that limitation makes it very interesting. Since I only had blue Pikmin, I couldn't easily deal with certain hazards. I actually had to take it slow and be strategic, which is something that I largely didn't need for most of the game. It did get a bit easier after I found the Bulbman, but then I just really wanted to keep them safe because they were so useful. However, your limitations isn't the only cool idea this cave has. In each layer of the cave, if you take too long, a spooky water nymph creature shows up and tries to roll you over. It kills Pikmin so fast and is so easy to die to. However, if you play sneakily and you're able to hide from him, you can continue progressing forward. This is already awesome. But after a while of running from it, no way to attack it, you finally get to the bottom. Here, you're actually given purple Pikmin. Now, with this new type of Pikmin, you're finally able to deal damage and attack the water nymph. And you can take it out, and it's not too hard. But this cave and this fight really make the purple Pikmin feel powerful, which is very smart design. In fact, this whole cave is just amazing. It has quite a few cool, unique ideas and stands out from the rest of the game. If all the caves are like this, I think I'd like it a lot more. So this cave and the boss that shows up at the end is really cool, but there are other bosses that show up in other caves. This game actually has a lot of bosses, and a lot of them are really hard. There's a ton of them that can just wipe out all your Pikmin super easily. Even some of the bosses that show up in Pikmin 1 show up again here multiple times. The final boss of the game is even cool, but we'll get to him later. Now let's exit the cave and talk about the surface for a bit. Now, since mostly exploring is in the caves, as I mentioned, the surface world isn't that great. There's only 4 levels here, which is one less than Pikmin 1, and one of the levels is just returning from Pikmin 1. Meaning there's only 3 new levels, which means there's far less content on the surface. I mean, it's understandable since most of the content takes place in the cave, so obviously there's gonna be less on the surface, but I don't like the caves, so this is just disappointing. Oh, and just like Pikmin 1, there's not a large variety here. However, even with the annoying addition to this game, it does feature a cool idea. While finding all sorts of treasures in the caves and on the surface, you can actually find some useful treasures. These findings can be made into actual equipment and give you new abilities, which is awesome. Actually upgrading as you play based on what you find is amazing. Some upgrades are basic, like immunity to fire or poison, but others are actually really cool. Just to name a few, you're given a whistle that picks Pikmin just by whistling at them. That's really useful and saves a lot of time. Also, side note, the leaves do pop out of the ground faster, which is just a huge improvement from the previous game. There's also the treasure radar, letting you know where treasures are. In Pikmin 1, all the parts are on your map, which makes sense since they were your parts, so it's possible that Olimar put tracking devices on them. Here though, they're just random treasures, so how would you know where they're at? Well, you don't, but the radar does. I mean, I have no idea how it knows where they're at, but I don't care. It's still a cool idea. However, one upgrade really shows a missed opportunity in this game. You unlock the ability to sleep. Yeah. Just sleep. While asleep, the Pikmin can pick you up and carry you to the onion, meaning this is a quick way to get back to your base without actually having to walk. However, something that I haven't mentioned yet is Louie. Louie is Olimar's partner here, and he's very disappointing. He's supposed to allow you to multitask, but he's not really useful since you can only control one at a time. The only way I used Louie was to just make him fall asleep and send him back to base. So then I could just pick up all the Pikmin and walk back to Olimar. That's it. It saves a bit of time, but not much. But that's the only way I used him, which was a huge disappointment. However, as I said, the other treasures do have some useful upgrades, and they better do since there's 201 of them. And they really make you know it, cutting back to the ship after each and every one of them. It's super slow and wastes so much time. Combine that with needing to grind a cave to get enough purple Pikmin for one item and needing to replay a cave if you miss just one item in it, it just appears this game doesn't respect your time at all. Yeah, this game has a lot of annoyances in it. So let's just end the game now, okay? Okay, so how do you beat the game? Well, at the start of the game, you're tasked with collecting 10,000 gold, or dollars? Money. I don't know what to call it. Anyways, once you've collected that, you flow back to your home planet and the end. Did I make that sound quick? Yeah, it's cause it is. Even if you're in the middle of a day, it just ends. It's really weird and very unsatisfying, because it's not the real end. Yep, you're not even halfway through the game yet. There is so much more gameplay left, making this end feel just annoying. Instead of ending, you realize that you left Louie behind, and you have to go back and get him, thus leading to the rest of the game. So, let's go. You unlock the final area, but it's not like the final challenge in Pikmin 1. Here is just another area. There's a few caves here, but only one has Louie stuck inside. So after defeating the rest of the caves, then it's time to go to Louie. It's just a regular cave, nothing worth mentioning. Well, of course, until you get to the bottom. But yeah, that's very disappointing that it's just a cave, nothing really special. That was really annoying. Anyways, the final boss is decent. It's a giant spider with 4 literal weapons. Each weapon has a different hazard, and you have to destroy all 4 and then the spider itself to save Louie. This is very similar to Pikmin 1's boss in the way that it's also very tedious. I mean, I feel like I just misunderstood the boss or something, since it took forever, and I feel like there was just some strategy that I was missing or something. But whatever, point is, I beat it, saved Louie, and left. The end. Pikmin 2 was very different than Pikmin 1, and on average, it was worse in my opinion. There was less urgency, less levels, worse selection of levels, but it does show a lot of cool ideas, like the new Pikmin types were really interesting, if not sadly unbalanced. I think White would be a great type if you just give it an onion, though it might be a little overpowered since you'd be able to kill a lot of things just by letting them eat the Pikmin. So maybe not, I have no idea. Both Pikmin 1 and 2 were pretty good games, but they still both lacked a lot of polish, and there's still plenty of ideas that could be used in a third game. So 9 years later, yes, 9 years, the game finally got a sequel. Pikmin 3 feels like a modern Nintendo game. What I mean by that is it is extremely polished. Pikmin now pop out of the ground immediately, and picking them up only requires one button press and automatically picks them all up. When throwing, an arc appears, not just a landing target, making it easier to hit flying enemies. All the different colored onions combine, making it easier to access your Pikmin. The whistle now doesn't call Pikmin who are working, you have to call them twice, meaning you're less likely to accidentally call Pikmin that you didn't want to. Pikmin exit the onion a lot quicker. Pikmin now follow you much better. We even have full colored maps this time. Oh, and Pikmin near the onion are also safe at night, which is an amazing addition that just makes sense. And I could probably go on and on about all these different additions and changes, but I won't. This game clearly tries its best to surpass its predecessors, and I think it does so very well. It's not only small tweaks either, and a lot of the game is made so much more fun and interesting. Remember how I said at the beginning of the video that Pikmin gets a lot of its fun from automation? This game actually adds onto that idea tenfold. Pikmin are now able to return to another area to finish collecting all the parts in a group. For instance, if you want to collect grapes, the Pikmin will bring them to the ship one by one, but they'll just keep returning till all the grapes are gone. This means with enough time, one Pikmin can move all these grapes by himself with zero input from you. A much more common version of this is with the new bridges. Instead of rolling out the bridges, here you build them. You throw some Pikmin at a pile of, I don't know, glass, china, bridge material. Then you just carry on your way and come back to a complete bridge. It's so satisfying, and I can't really explain why other than just saying it's automated. The automation doesn't stop there though, since the game adds another captain. Pikmin 1 had one captain, Olimar. Pikmin 2 has 2 captains, Olimar and Louie. Pikmin 3 has 3, Alf, Brittany, and Charlie. And unlike the addition of Louie, these captains are actually useful. The main reason they're so useful is the Go Here ability. Basically, you just select on the map where you want a captain to go, and they'll just go there automatically. That means they're actually useful. You can split your captains up and have them go in completely different directions and work on different goals. So while getting stuff done, if you ever come to a point where you just need to wait for your Pikmin to finish what they're doing, you can just switch to the other captain and continue making progress. They're just so useful. Is there a ton of Pikmin you need to pluck from the ground? Have another captain do it. Just send your Pikmin to build a bridge and I need to wait for them so you can call them back? Just leave a captain behind and check back later. It is so useful and the game tries its best to show that to you. But we'll get back to that when we get to the levels. For now, the captains aren't the only new mechanic. There is another and it's just as useful. In Pikmin 1 and 2, you had this rush ability. All it did was have your Pikmin form some kind of line in front of you to wherever you're pointing. It was useful for directing them, like directing them to attack an enemy, break down a wall, or just pick up an object. In Pikmin 3 though, the rush is replaced with a charge. You press X and all the Pikmin you have selected charge to whatever you're pointing at. This is super awesome and lets you kill enemies in seconds. It's just so amazing. This also has a lot of polish too, which makes it even better. Like I said, it charges the Pikmin you're selecting, meaning if there's an enemy on fire, you can just send the red Pikmin. Also, when charging at an object to carry back to base, only the exact number of Pikmin needed actually grab it. The rest come back to you. Oh, speaking of picking up objects, they fixed the fractions. Woohoo, Nintendo finally understands fractions! Anyway, the charge is an amazing new ability, and combined with the Go Here mechanic with the new captains, Pikmin 3 has by far the best flow and satisfaction of all the Pikmin games. This game is just amazing. However, just like Pikmin 2, this game also adds new Pikmin, and honestly, they're much better. Obviously, red, blue, and green return as well, with some slight changes, like how all Pikmin can now carry bomb rocks, not just yellow. This was likely done since yellow no longer needs random abilities to be useful, since its unique abilities make so much more sense now, like being able to conduct electricity, which is pretty neat. Also, electricity has been nerfed from Pikmin 2, and now it's not a one-hit kill. I mean, I still don't care too much since I'm a pro, obviously, and never get my Pikmin electrocuted. The Pikmin from 2 don't really appear in this game, or, well, not in the main mode. They do make an appearance in the challenge mode, though the Bulbmen don't return. Purple Pikmin, though, are far less useful now. For starters, they no longer do ground pounds. I mean, they do, but it does 0 damage, so what's the point? Oh, and since you're in challenges, time is very important, so you want your Pikmin to carry things very quickly. So purple is just no longer the best at combat or collection. It went from the best to pretty useless. However, as I said, Pikmin 3's new Pikmin are much better and pretty much replace the ones from Pikmin 2. Pikmin 2's new types are rock and winged. Weird how they're not named after their colors, but okay. These two take the ideas of purple and white Pikmin and actually do them better. The white Pikmin were actually meant to be faster, and I haven't mentioned that yet because I never used that ability ever. But they're replaced with the winged Pikmin. I'm not sure if they're actually faster, but they can fly over obstacles, meaning they're going to get back to base faster. They're also extremely weak, meaning you won't be using them in combat. The rock Pikmin replaced the purple ones in terms of combat. Purple Pikmin did a lot of damage when you ground pounded and then continued doing a lot of damage when they hung on. And again, it was also really good at carrying stuff. To make it less overpowered, the rock Pikmin just copied the ground pound. But instead of doing damage by ground pounding, it does damage by, well, by being a rock that you just threw at an enemy. However, it cannot grab onto enemies, making it less useful in some scenarios. And it has no changes in the way it carries stuff either. But it is immune to crushing, so it's got purple beat there. It can also break quartz, so there's that too. These new Pikmin types are awesome and much better. They're also given new onions, unlike the other two, so that's neat. Having onions means you actually have to find them in the world. And they all have little sectioned off areas where you need to test them out. The other Pikmin games did this too, and it's just good design. Speaking of game design, the levels in this game are just much more interesting than before. But I do need to give a bit of background first. In the beginning, your 3 captains are on a ship in space, and then they crash land and get split up. Now, go find them. You also need to find food, by the way, since if you run out, you die. Oh, and also you find these log entries written by Olimar, and you think he's in trouble, so you have to go save him too. Okay, so all that means is that in each area you collect as much fruit as possible, which you need to eat. But each area also helps you get closer to finding your other captains and eventually saving Olimar. I like the idea of fruit since how much you collect is directly tied to how long you have to beat the game. The first game had 30 days, the second had infinite, and the third has 98. Yeah, that's a lot, but it is a limit. And since it's tied to a collectible, that being juice, I wanted to rush so we ate as little as juice as necessary, since I wanted to save as much as possible because I like collecting. But anyways, enough story, get into the level. Level 1 has you start off as Captain Charlie, meet yellow Pikmin, and play the tutorial. You explore a bit and get attacked. Now you play as Alf, where you find red Pikmin and have another tutorial. Yeah, this game holds your hand quite a lot at the beginning. Anyway, day 3, or well, I guess day 2, since the day with Charlie doesn't actually count or something, I'm not sure. Anyway, day 3 is where it really starts to ramp up. Every level has at least one unique and interesting obstacle in your way that you need to find a way to get around. Area 1, or well 2, I guess technically 3, whatever. The first non-tutorial level has you find Brittany behind a wall, enter a cave, unlock a new Pikmin, and then use that Pikmin to save Brittany. Now with Brittany and the rock Pikmin, you're able to enter a new area, throw a captain over the water along with some Pikmin, and they'll be able to build a bridge back to you. That entire adventure is just in level 1, and it gets far better than that in the later levels. But so far, it's already awesome. Level 2 has you enter a snow area, and Brittany gets thrown out of the ship. Now you have to multitask to get back. Alf on one side has a rock and red Pikmin, while Brittany on the other side has rediscovered yellow Pikmin. You can even toss Pikmin to each other over the river, which you're going to need to do to beat the level. The main obstacle is needing both Brittany and Alf to both separately build a bridge to each other, and the best way to do that is to have them both building at the same time, so like I said, you'll need to multitask. Also, this level ends in unlocking Charlie. Level 3 has you return to the second tutorial area, the one with Alf. Here, there are weighted platforms you need to get to higher locations. This level also introduces bomb rocks. Level 4 has 2 streams of water, with lily pads flowing down that you'll need to ride on. You even have to move a stick to allow even more lily pads to get through, and that ends with you rescuing Louie. Then level 5 forces you to return back to level 1, or level 2, or 3, you know what I mean, since Louie decides to try to escape and steals all your food. Because, of course he did. Here you need to use the blue Pikmin to build an underwater structure that you need to stand on to progress. And finally, there's level 6, and that's the end, so we'll get to that later. The level design in this game outshines both the previous games entirely, and it's so fun and memorable. I could just play this game all day long, it's so fun. However, something that I left out when describing the levels are the bosses. Nearly every level has one, and they're super fun. The first boss has quartz armor that you'll need to break through before being able to do damage, which makes use of the new rock Pikmin. Boss 2 is a giant moth in the dark, who you stun by directing electricity with yellow. Boss 3 is a giant worm on the ground, who you can do extra damage to by having it eat bomb rocks. Boss 4 is a weird flying bee with an army of bees whose easiest way to attack it is with a new winged Pikmin. Each and every new boss is not only super fun, but also fair and makes use of a new ability or item that you just discovered. The only exception to this is the 5th boss, who shows up right after discovering the blue Pikmin. The boss barely has water, and it's much better beaten by the rock Pikmin, since not only do you need them to start the boss, but also they're immune to being stepped on. Though that is a minor complaint, since the boss is still really fun. Literally everything about this game is just so fun, I could go on for hours. Like the 4th boss has a ton of little bees, and it's so fun right after the fight to bring them all back to base. Or well, it is if you're able to, but since you just had to fight a boss, the day is likely going to end before you can, so that's a bit of a bummer. Oh, and this game also doesn't have the cool new upgrades that Pikmin 2 had. Okay, well it tries, but not really. There's only one upgrade that allows you to dodge, but I immediately forgot it existed. The other 3 are just immunities that don't really feel that interesting. This game also decided to change a lot of the enemies from the previous games for some reason. Pikmin 2 had hairy Bulborbs, which were white variants that appeared in the snowy areas. Pikmin 3 instead has the Whip-Tongue Bulborb, which is a white variant that appears in the snowy areas. Another example would be Pikmin 2's Cloaking Burrownit, compared to Pikmin 3's Joustmite. This one in particular got me confused a lot. Combine that with the fact that Pikmin 2's Pikmin are basically remade by the Pikmin 3's Pikmin, and it feels like Nintendo just wanted to redo everything they already did. But finally, it's time to discuss the end. You see, on our adventure, after finding all 3 captains, we decided to go help Captain Olimar. After finding Louie and Olimar's crash ship, we finally get to the area with Olimar. This is the final level. Here, you see a weird golden blob interested in Olimar. I'm not sure why, but it just wants to keep him. So of course, we have to try and save Olimar. After getting him out of the giant blob, some Pikmin pick him up, but for some reason can't fly back to the ship. Instead, we decide to let them follow Brittany as we try to find another way back to the ship. So this last area has us rush to the final gauntlet while being chased by a weird blob. It's kind of a weird mix between Pikmin 1's last area and the best cave from Pikmin 2. Anyways, it's actually super easy. Alf and Charles can slowly keep progressing while Brittany just keeps walking in circles. The only way you can mess up is if you're just not paying attention to Brittany and she gets caught. Then you just have to rush all the way back to save Olimar again so you can just continue progressing. If you're too far away and can't stop the blob in time and it gets away, you'll just have to come back tomorrow. That's it. Everything in the cave remains the way it was, so you can make a little bit of progress each day at a time. After the somewhat long maze, you finally get outside, and of course, the blob follows you. This leads into the final boss, and it's okay. The boss throws these different attacks that only one Pikmin can counter, meaning you'll have to be quick and switch that Pikmin before beating the attack. However, if you throw the wrong Pikmin, you just call them back and they're fine. Nothing happens. It's an interesting idea for a boss, but it's not that fun. But after you beat the boss, save Olimar, and fly home, the end. After all that, Pikmin 3 is by far my favorite Pikmin game. It's just so polished and well designed. That's why I was super eager to jump into the side modes. Both Pikmin 1 and 2 had challenges, but I didn't really want to play them. However, I was actually super excited to play Pikmin 3's challenges. They were actually pretty good. However, Pikmin 3 also adds 2 more campaigns with Olimar, which is a cool idea. I was hoping maybe they played like Pikmin 2, like having the Pikmin 2 Pikmin, or the upgrades, or the caves. Nope, they're just more challenge stages. Actually, they're even worse than the challenge stages since they just feature the regular maps as the base instead of making original maps like the other ones did. So yeah, these side modes were just disappointing, but the game as a whole is still pretty awesome. But with all that said, I've really enjoyed the Pikmin series and can't wait for Pikmin 4. I have a ton of ideas for that, so let me know in the comments if you'd like me to make a video about that.
Speaking of other videos, didn't you just ambush mine or something?
Oh, Wyatt from Smash Max, what are you doing here?
Well, you broke into my video, so I'm here to break into yours. You think you can just come onto my channel and talk about Pillow Pet's Let's Play and get off scot-free?
Whatever, it doesn't matter. The video's over anyway.
That's too bad. I guess I'll just have to come back some other time then. I guess I'll just go back to my own channel, where I'll just sit in a dark room and talk to myself about dumb video games like I always do. Schizophrenia, man.
Alright, I'm just gonna let you deal with that on your own channel. And while everyone's here, make sure you go check out Wyatt's video that I'm in. It's pretty good.
Hey, thanks. I also think it was pretty good. Or maybe I'm just gaslighting you all to think that way. Regardless, I'll see all you guys on my own channel if you think I'm worthy of your time.
Bye, other Wyatt. Okay, where was I? Oh, yeah. Pikmin is great. But with all that said, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you later. Goodbye. Hi, so welcome to the end. A lot of stuff is happening on the channel, like the FNAF video blew up, which is really great. And then I'm doing another FNAF video. The next video, I think it should be that one, because the first one did great, so I'm doing another one quickly afterwards. Well, quick, it's not that quick, but whatever. I'm also doing this bit right there, where I'm on someone else's channel. I'm on Wyatt's channel. He's great. His videos are great. You should go check him out. But go check out that video. I hope it's good. I haven't seen it yet. It's not up by the time I'm recording this. It should be up when you're watching this. So hopefully it's good. So yeah, hope everything works out. See you later.
Cause I like Slim Jims. Alright, I'm gonna go eat a Slim Jim now.